My talk for today is called Don't Let Religion Get in Your Way. I want to talk to you because so many folks feel injured by religion. The religion they grew up in, and because of the dogma of that religion, many have experienced injury. But religion can also bring comfort to people and has throughout the ages. Every religion started as a spiritual experience, then developed dogma, first to create a way to repeat the spiritual experience, and only when somebody, and this is really important, only when somebody who didn't feel the spiritual experience rose to a position of power did the dogma become about control. It only happened because somebody in power actually didn't have the experience of the spiritual experience, because we all know that once you've had that spiritual experience, you really wind up letting go of control, not really wanting more of it. To get deeper into this talk, I went and did some research on etymology. So let's start with the word religion. Religion, originally from the ancient Greek, simply meant respect for what is sacred. That was it. Respect for what is sacred. It then morphed in the 5th century to mean monastic life, so now religion was just about those folks who lived in a monastery. And then it morphed again in the 11th century to mean a place and obligation on. And what they were talking about was the bond between humans and gods. But it landed in the 13th century to simply mean a system of worship. So the meaning we have of religion today simply means a system of worship. So religion in and of itself is not attached to the dogma, which we'll get into the word dogma in a second. It is simply what we do. I mean, that's what makes us a religion. That's what makes Buddhism a religion. That's what even makes sitting in the woods and meditating with a creek a religion, because it is a system of worship. Anything we do that includes being part of the sacred is a system of worship. So we don't have to be scared of the word religion. We don't have to freak out about it. It just speaks to a system of worship. So then we get to the word dogma. Dogma from the ancient Greek means that which one thinks is true and seems good. That's all it originally meant. That which one thinks is true and seems good. Then in the 17th century, it shifted to mean philosophical tenet. Now that's really interesting, because that's the way we use the word dogma in our religion, is as a philosophical tenet. The problem is the word morphed again in the 17th century to mean enforced decisions by those who are by our religious authorities. And that's the definition that many religions use today that has done the injury to people in the ways that it has done. Enforced decisions by those with aggressive political interests or religious authorities. So the interesting part about this is I hear a lot of people in our faith talk about the difference between us and all the rest of the religions. And as soon as they do that, they are enforcing our decisions on others. When we try to convert others, we are then have taken our dogma from a simple philosophical tenet to an enforced decision. The idea is that what we have here in religion and dogma is something very special, but it isn't as different from other religions as we many times make it out to be. So the deal is about religion and dogma is don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? This is a don't throw out the baby with the bathwater talk. Well, how do you know what the difference between the baby and the bathwater is, does it bring you comfort? Does it speak to your higher self? Does it help you to feel less alone? Does it challenge you to be more of who you have come here to be? It doesn't matter what your spiritual belief is. This is what I have come to with all this, is that it doesn't matter what you believe, it matters how you believe. Because no matter what faith you believe in, if you embody it, you will have miracles. And every faith shows this. Recently, 41 years after the Chinese Cultural Revolution and tried to snuff out all forms of religion, all of a sudden, Chinese people are congregating at churches more than ever. They're talking in the area of 100 million people in China now going to churches because they feel that thing within them that wants more, that knows that they are more than just a physical being. That's what rises in us no matter what religion we go to. A young Muslim woman who was a university student was having dinner with some friends. Dinner ran late. So she wound up going home in the dark, which she had not done before. And as she's trying to get home, she winds up having to walk through this alleyway. And before she does, she prays to Allah that she is safe and protected. She walks through this alleyway and there's a guy in it who simply lets her go by and she gets home safely. She wakes up the next morning to learn that another woman had passed down that same alley 20 minutes after her and was raped. So she calls the police, says it's probably the same guy who was in that alley when I was there. They catch the guy, and when he's confronted, he admits to the rape. He actually confesses. So the police are very thankful to this woman who gave this, the description of the guy and what happened and all that. So they ask, can we do anything for you? And she goes, ask him why he didn't attack me. And the guy says it's because he saw two very large men walking with her. And so realized she wasn't somebody to be messed with. We do not in our movement have a monopoly on miracles. Anyone who embodies any faith they have as a philosophical tenet and lives from that place, no matter what they believe, will experience miracles. And so get religion out of the way. It doesn't matter what religion, it doesn't matter what you believe, it matters how you believe. Do you believe to the level of miracle? Do you embody it to the depth of what it is? Because if you don't, you're not going to experience the miracles in our philosophical tenets or anybody else's. Dr. Holmes tells us there is a power for good in the universe and we can use it. He doesn't say what the power looks like or what we have to believe in for it to work. In fact, he says it's working whether we believe in it or not. It's just better to have it believe and get the results we want in the circumstances we like in our lives. If number one, we believe it exists, and number two, we turn our attention towards what it is we want and the results we want to manifest. That's what we believe here. And in fact, that is true no matter if you believe it's through Jesus, through Allah, through whatever. It doesn't actually matter. It just matters that we manifest, that we embody that belief. People who go around treating dogma as the enforced decision actually are those who haven't embodied it. Because once you've embodied whatever it is you embody, you tend to not push it on others. As we well know, we tend to just live it and be the model of it. A 62-year-old African man who had contracted AIDS, was not a Christian. But when he was in the hospital at a time in the 60s when people, in the 80s when people died of AIDS on a regular basis, he was brought a Bible and said, if you believe enough, and he came across this psalm in the Bible, and call upon me in the day of trouble, I will deliver you and you will glorify me. And he got so deeply into embodying Jesus in his life that the doctors started not only seeing that he was improving, they finally told him he had no sign of AIDS at all. This was in a time when there was no medicine to cure. And he cured himself through his belief in Jesus. It doesn't matter what you believe. It matters how you believe. That's what's the most important thing. And that's what brings forth miracles. What you embody manifests, whether it's through Jesus, some higher power, Allah, protective angels, crystals, doctors, medicine, from any source. For it to work, you must believe to the level of knowing that it will work in every fiber of your being, and then you are healed. So what we need to do is just get out of the way. See those others in any religion who are believing that deeply, and then know that actually they are where we are if we are believing that deeply as well. That we can all stand together. This is the unifying factor through any religion. Yes, there are definitely those who go around preaching dogma as an enforced decision. But those aren't the people we relate to. We relate to people like the Dalai Lama, Gandhi, and others who have stood for the highest and best in all of us. And when we do, there is no separation between our religion, our way of philosophy, or anybody else's. All it matters is that we believe together. Down in Texas, Victoria, Texas, somebody burnt down a mosque. And every single other religion in the area stood by them, raised $1 million for them to rebuild that mosque. And the local Jewish community let them have their services in their temple until the mosque was rebuilt. That's standing together in faith. That's not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. That's not standing as holier than thou, like somehow our religion is better or different. It's all about embodiment. Hold that baby tight and don't be afraid of what others may call this power, whether they call it Jesus, Allah, God, Lord, Great Spirit. The name doesn't matter. The spiritual experience does. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Religion is not a dirty word, and if we hold to the beautiful definition of dogma as a philosophical tenet, then neither is dogma. Let's make room for every religion's baby, that baby of beautiful faith in the connectedness of all, the oneness of the great power that is present as we allow it to be. Let us bring each religion's baby into the light, appreciate the goodness it brings to the world, and recognize how each religion, at its best, is bringing about the change we want to see in the world. I love you.